If you're ready to go, I can call the meeting to order. We'll get started with roll call. Larry Gausted. Here. John Glasspool. Here. Josh Gran.
Here.
Franklin Hahn.
Here.
Chase Munson.
Here.
And Rich Shield.
Here.
And Eric Johnson.
Here.
So we have a couple of housekeeping items, I guess, here to take care of. First of all, welcome Rich back, I guess, to the Planning Commission. He took the opening that we had. And then, I guess, to get started, I will do a call for nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Franklin.
Okay. Franklin, I guess, are you willing to accept that?
Well, you better get a second and vote on it.
I'll second it.
Okay.
You better ask for nominations 2 or 3 times before you close it.
Yep. So we have a nomination for Franklin for chair. Are there any other nominations? Or any? Any other nominations? No? All right.
3 times.
Any other nominations? So then, do you guys just want to or I'll entertain a vote, or would you like me to do roll call?
Roll call.
Okay.
Roll call.
Larry Gausted,
Yes.
John Glasspool, Josh Gran,
Yes.
Franklin Hahn,
Yes.
Chase Munson,
Yes.
Rich Shield,
Yes.
and Eric Johnson.
Yes.
Nomination for vice chair, I'll nominate Larry Gausted.
I'll second it.
Is there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? If there isn't any other nominations, I declare nomination cease, and we have a roll call vote.
Larry Gausted,
Yes.
John Glasspool, Josh Gran,
Yes.
Franklin Hahn, Chase Munson,
Yes.
Rich Shield,
Yes.
and Eric Johnson.
Yes.
Next item, well, we couldn't have the minutes. You called the meeting order, right?
I did.
Okay.
Uh,
Minutes from the last meeting, did everybody get a chance to read them? To any questions, comments on the minutes? Not a motion to accept the minutes as printed unless you have something.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Next thing on the agenda here I see is elect the planning commission member to be on the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah, so that's just something we review annually. Franklin sat on it last year. But you just participate in the Board of Adjustment meetings as well. I don't know if you have any other input, Franklin, but.
Well, do you have to have a nomination again
Yeah,
for something?
yep, I don't know, didn't know if you wanted to discuss kind of what it was for them, but.
Well, I mean, if they want me to be on there, I'll do it again. It's not a problem, but that's up to the board. That's not up to me.
I'll nominate Franklin. I'll second.
Second? Who seconded it?
Josh.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I guess we can.
All right. That was all I had for housekeeping, unless anyone had any other questions.
I think we're good to go.
Okay. So the hearing we have tonight, please take notice that an application has been made by One Energy Development on behalf of AC4 Farms LLC, and that's 12904 County 12 in Caledonia, for a conditional use permit to construct a 5-megawatt ground-mounted distribution commercial solar project in an agricultural protection district. And that is in Caledonia Township or in Section 35, Township 102, Range 6 of Houston County. The said applicant standing and making application is as fee owner of said described lands and leaser of said described lands. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in Caledonia at 5 p.m. on Thursday, January 22nd of 2026. All persons having an interest in the matter may attend the hearing or submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department at 304 South Marshall Street in Caledonia or emailed to the zoning office and must be received by Tuesday, January 13th of 2026 to be included for review prior to the hearing. All comments are considered public record, and this was advertised on January 7th of 2026.
Are the applicants here? You come forward. State your name if you would. And
I'm Kent Whitcomb, VP of Member Services at My Energy Cooperative.
Sherry Allen, landowner.
Andy Allen, landowner.
Braden Dumond, development at One Energy.
Beth Esser, One Energy Development as well.
so I guess you want to go ahead and explain to the board what your plans are or whatever you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for having us. I know we've been here before, but it's exciting to have an actual project and have the opportunity to share in more detail what we do at One Energy and more about this project specifically. I am joined by my colleague Beth Esser from One Energy, and then our landowner partners, as introduced themselves before, Andy and Sherry Allen, and then Kent Whitcomb from My Energy Cooperative. So thank you guys for joining us as well. A little bit about One Energy as a company. We are an independent developer of solar projects of this scale. We work in kind of a niche market throughout the Midwest of kind of a mid-sized solar project. At our office, we have a team of development, engineering, delivery, and now an operations and maintenance team that oversee all aspects of projects throughout their life. We emphasize projects that interconnect directly with the distribution grid. These are very efficient. They're able to tie directly into three-phase lines, and the power from these projects is dispersed locally and is used up very close to where the energy is captured. At One Energy, we are a public benefit corporation, which essentially means that on top of our traditional business objectives, we are beholden to community benefits and overall a positive impact on the communities in which we work. A little bit more about our Midwest experience. We have developed 79 projects in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa over the last 7 years. And that's enough power to power over 74,000 average Midwest homes. I believe that number needs to be updated as of the new year. 24 projects are planned for construction in 2026 throughout Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Now I will invite Kent Whitcomb from My Energy to explain a little bit more about why they are pursuing this project.
Well, thanks for having us tonight, you guys, and listen to the proposal. I guess why is the co-op looking into this solar project? You know, why Turkey Solar here, and why are we in front of you guys tonight? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the utility perspective. Probably the number one reason we're looking at this project is just stabilizing rates. In the last 3 years, you've seen Xcel have over a 20% increase. You've seen Alliant, mostly in Iowa, have a 20% increase. Over the last 3 years, we've had one increase. It was 3%. So in the last 3 years, we've had an average of 1% increase in our rate every year. One of the main reasons we've done that is just creating different revenue sources at the co-op. We did 4 other large-scale projects about 6 years ago. Those were with One Energy as well, and we've just seen the benefits of that, and that helps us keep the rates stable. Number two, grid resiliency. Overall, local generation coming to the community, coming to our system. We don't have to go formal here. Eric. What do you got?
You said revenue sources?
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
So essentially, Dairyland is who we buy our wholesale power from. Dairyland Power Cooperative out of La Crosse. They have a policy put in place where we can go out and buy 10% of the energy away from them. We can either generate it ourselves or do like a power purchase agreement with another company. So we partnered with One Energy in the past, and what we'd be looking at doing on this project is doing a power purchase agreement where One Energy would build a system, generate power, and we would actually buy the energy from that system. Now, Dairyland's policy also says that we can buy that 10% outside of them, but then they come back around and buy it back from us. So what we do is then we negotiate a power purchase agreement price that's lower than what Dairyland were to buy it from us, and then that would be our revenue or margins.
So it's a revenue source for my energy.
Correct. So the second one is grid resiliency, essentially bringing generation to our community on our system. Overall, the MISO grid or even on the transmission line, if something were to happen, we have to deal with that. If we can bring generation locally and something happens on the grid overall, we can isolate ourselves. We could do a microgrid. Essentially, we could disconnect our substation and we could operate with that substation, the generation, and we can keep all the members on that substation online. Another thing that we'd be looking at is typically, we've been talking about rolling blackouts in the future with all this load coming onto the transmission line and onto the MISO as well. Typically, the highest peaking time on the grid is 2 to 6 p.m. during the summer. Usually the solar is producing during that time. And if we ever got to the point where we as a utility had to disconnect from the grid, we do have a plan in place for that. And what would happen is we would be required, essentially if on the system there's not enough generation for how much load is there, we'd be required to shed 25% of our load. So when we start shedding 25% of our load, it's gonna be rotating substations. And when we rotate our substations, we're gonna look at each substation, look how much load is on that substation. Well, if we have a site where essentially we have 5 megawatts of solar being produced, and then the load is lower than that, and we don't have a lot of load on there because of the generation, we're not gonna take that substation offline. So another reason then, having that local generation would allow us to keep the members on that substation online. The third one would be essentially carbon-free mandate. I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but the state of Minnesota does have a 2040 carbon-free mandate. We are not opposed to clean energy. We're doing a project right now here. Diversifying our generation is probably the best route you can go. Our only stipulation with that is it is a mandate the state's requiring us to be. We'd rather not have that a mandate and have kind of our own process of getting there and our own timeline of getting there. But either way, it's out there, it's in law, we gotta get there, so this project does help us get to that 2040 carbon-free mandate.
So I've been told that that mandate isn't true. It isn't a true mandate. It's actually a utility mandate you guys have adopted. Is that right?
Well, it's a state law, Minnesota's adopted it. I would say, as far as it's not true, I would say getting to carbon-free by 2040 is not gonna happen.
Right, but
Outside of renewable energy credits, that's kind of the route that I see, it's not
actually a
true.
mandate passed by the state of Minnesota to do these alternative energy projects.
Yep, so every year, Dairyland on our behalf, they submit to the Minnesota PUC, the Public Utility Commission, and we have to submit to them how much generation we have renewable. The last couple of years, essentially Dairyland has had to retire RECs. So they do it on behalf of My Energy, and there are 2 other Minnesota co-ops, and then also Caledonia, Spring Grove, Eitzen, and the other municipals that we serve. So right now, we are reporting every year to the PUC on what our renewable mix is, and they're requiring it to be at 20% at this point.
So it's a Dairyland Power mandate?
Oh, it's a G&T mandate, because see, we're a distribution cooperative.
Yeah.
So essentially, Dairyland is the G&T, they're the generation transmission company.
Okay.
So just like this project, again, though, it's still gonna be generation, buy all, sell all, Dairyland will purchase that energy, it still falls under their portfolio.
But you can't specifically point to a state mandate that is requiring you to do this.
What do you mean I can't point?
Well, can you state or point to a mandate by the state that says you have to do this?
So do we have to do this project specifically? No.
No, I'm not talking about this project. I'm talking about,
Yeah, yep.
Solar.
So like this project, we don't have to, but by in the state of Minnesota, with our energy use, we do have to be at carbon free by 2040.
it's a lofty goal, I understand that, but I'm
It's
just saying,
an attainable goal on our, our belief, but it's still there.
all right.
So the next part is essentially economic development as well. So essentially, you know, at the co-op, we promote economic development. There will be some tax revenue for the county and the township, 13,000 annually. The state of Minnesota does have a solar tax, production tax revenue where they tax the amount of solar produced on the system. And you can see over the life of this project, we're estimating that to be 455,000. Again, split between the county and the township.
Is that 30 years?
Correct.
Correct. Yep.
And I know our PPA is 30 years, and then depending on what the condition of the system is after 30 years, there could be an extension on that too, so those numbers could change. And then just for kind of to talk about in general, I know we talked about, okay, this is a 5 megawatt, how much load can we put on our substations and everything? And I think I did send a list of substations we have in Houston County. Well, between My Energy and Dairyland, that's 9 substations. Excel has 2 or 3 in addition to that. So essentially totaling 12 substations in the county. If there were to be a limit of 25 acres per project, and also with us kind of looking at 5 megawatts as kind of the max we can do on a substation, we're not planning to put solar everywhere in Houston County. We'd be limited to that 25, it'd be 225 to 300 acres is about the most we could put on our distribution side when a project is capped at 25 acres.
Why is it capped at 25 acres?
That's kind of been our proposal for how big this system would be, and a couple conversations we've had in the past. So I guess,
I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Lifetime is 35. I think we estimated in between the 30 and 40.
so that is 30,
years.
that 455 is 35 years.
35 years?
35 years.
Isn't life of the panels 30 years at most?
Yeah, I can speak to that. We have warranties on our panels for 30 years, so that's why our lease is 30 years. But we do have a 10-year extension built into our lease, and at that 30-year mark, if we were to re-energize, or not re-energize, but keep the project in production, that would be essentially My Energy's decision. Who knows in 30 years whether that project will be their best source of energy, and that's when they'll decide whether to extend for 10 years or to remove it.
PPA ends in 30 years. If it's only producing at 10% of what it did in the past, does it make sense to re-up another power purchase agreement or look elsewhere type deal?
Yeah, and it is expected in 30 years, these panels are still producing pretty well, and that's why we have that option for an additional 10. They use a very small percentage of their efficiency each year. At 30 years, I think we expect them to be 80% or higher in terms of their efficiency compared to when they first were put in commission. So it's a slow degradation.
How do you justify with Dairyland and all these small solars and all the electricity that they generate? How do you get around Dairyland on them?
So essentially, anything that's under 40 kW, Dairyland doesn't handle. So if it were to be an application above 40 kW, that's when Dairyland steps in and they'd handle it. So anything under 40, they let the distribution co-op's realm of the world, which is kind of the threshold for Minnesota's net metering.
So most of these small ones, then they don't generate much?
I guess it depends on what you're talking about as much. Will it cover a whole home and a farm? Yes. On utility scale for how much load's on a substation? No, they don't cover that much.
Okay.
Yeah, so yep, that's kind of the I guess the gist of it on the utility side.
Awesome. Thank you, Kent. Moving on, want to talk a little bit about how we decide on what sites we go with. The most important thing being we need to have an interested landowner partner. So I will let Andy and Sherry speak a little bit to what has piqued their interest about doing this project.
So initially, when we were contacted by Kent, and to discuss, we have land that surrounds a substation, so hence why we were contacted, and it's fairly flat land, which has been an education for us. Kent brought in Beth, and we all had lots of conversations over a long period of time as to what land is suitable, because of course, you know, we wanted to give up our less flat land, and we learned through the process that with the way solar panels are created in today's world, they actually want them more on flat ground because of the movement. They're not stationary anymore, so there's a lot of guidelines. So because we were interested in solar ourselves, we wanted to go down this route. And it also gives us an opportunity for some diversity of income to our farm so we can continue to grow it, because we have two sons that are coming into our business with us. So we have to think long-term for income for us as well. So I guess our important thing that we want to keep in the forefront of everything is landowner rights, and that we feel that we would like to be able to move forward with this project on our prime ground.
Thank you. A little bit more about why this site works for a solar project. Like Sherry mentioned, this land is right next to a substation. We like to site within ideally 5 miles of a substation. The closer you can get, the more efficient the energy production is, less energy is lost on lines, therefore making the project more affordable, making the energy more affordable. And we're trying to produce this energy at a low price that makes it suitable for My Energy's portfolio. Otherwise, they have no reason to pursue one of these projects. Sherry also mentioned it's a really flat site, which is great. Not only does it accommodate for the moving of the panels, but when we're trying to build an economical site, we want to minimize our steel use as much as possible, and the more grading or the more topography there is with a plot of land, the more variation we have in our steel piles, and steel's expensive. It adds up pretty quickly and can make a project unaffordable. A little bit more about the components of these types of projects. Obviously, panels are arguably the most important thing in these projects. We use bifacial panels, which means they are able to collect sunlight from both the top and the bottom. This has made panels extremely efficient and viable in the northern part of the United States. In the winter especially, the reflection off the snow can these panels can capture a lot of energy off just the reflection of the snow. Even in the summer, there is light that is being reflected off anything, essentially, and those panels are able to capture that, and it has made solar electric generation much more efficient in the recent years. We use single-axis tracking, which essentially these panels will sit on a north-south oriented torque tube, and throughout the day, the panels will rotate, starting out in the east in the morning and then tracking the sun throughout the day and ending in the west. And then lastly, they're all mounted upon steel racking and steel piles that are driven anywhere from 8 to 15 feet into the ground, depending on the soil type. We do a very in-depth soil analysis, geotechnical analysis, when constructing these sites, because we want to make sure that our steel piles are adequate for the type of soil so that these projects are well secured. Some of the electrical components that you'll see kind of centralized in the middle of these sites are inverters, which are able to take the energy, which comes direct current out of the panels, and it's able to invert that electricity into alternating current, which is what our grid uses. From there, that electricity flows to the transformer. The transformer is able to step up the voltage to meet the voltage of the three-phase distribution lines, so it's a nice, smooth integration into the grid. For our fencing on these sites, we go with an agricultural style fence, wood posts, and then some woven wire fencing that allows for the passage of smaller wildlife but keeps some of the bigger wildlife out.
How tall is that?
8 feet, sorry. Yep, and that is because of the National Electric Code. 8-foot fencing is required if you don't have barbed wire. So here on this slide, we have a little bit more specifics about this site, including the site layout. I believe we have some printed out site layouts kind of behind us, front right, on a table, if anybody wants to take a look at those. But this is a 5 megawatt site in Caledonia Township, like was mentioned before. It's about 24 acres of a larger 109 acre property. It'll produce expected around 10 million kilowatt hours a year, which is the equivalent electricity needs of over 1,000 homes. It'll connect to My Energy's three-phase distribution lines, and the surrounding land will continue to be farmed. It's kind of hard to see on the screen here, but around the southern portion, we have planned a vegetative screen to mitigate some of the visual impact for those neighbors to the southern side of this project.
What type of fence are you putting around there, chain link?
The fence is it's a woven wire fence, wooden posts, and you can see it up there. It's kind of like what you would see around an orchard to keep the deer out.
Well, that's what, 6 feet or?
8 feet,
8
yep,
feet?
yep, 8 feet, as per the National Electric Code.
And we would be building out a new circuit for that as well. And our circuit would be 3-phase and it would be put underground from the substation to the site.
Thank you.
Why not the parcel west of that or the parcel north of that?
That's not completely out of the picture. We're open to exploring that
What we have leased with Sherry and Andy, what parcel are you talking about?
oh, you're
Sherry and Andy's
talking for the
parcels?
vegetative
Yeah.
screen?
We don't have anything west of that site,
I'm sorry, east.
closer to the highway, you're saying.
Oh, do you want to speak? to
For the
what you wanna
vegetative
do with
screen?
that?
Are you talking-
I'm just
about the
asking why you
location,
chose, I'm just wondering why you chose that parcel versus,
not talking about the
sorry, I
vegetative
was-
screen.
I mean, there was
Different thing.
that one north of it. I think I got my bearings right, but.
Sorry,
It's
yeah,
a little more
I was
flatter
confused.
too, I mean.
So when we met with Sherry and Andy, and Kent, we wanted to be as close to the substation as possible. And you have some plans for that property right next to the highway down the road.
Are you saying on Highway 44?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, parcel 374,000.
On Highway 44.
Yeah, it's right along the
Yeah,
highway.
yeah. So we have future plans of doing grain storage there, hopefully.
Oh, okay.
So
So is that gonna be tied in with the solar too then, or?
no, unfortunately, it can't be. I asked that question as well.
They're totally separate.
They're separate projects, but
So is this a different solar company we're talking tonight that we were talking before? Same, okay.
Yeah, I'd imagine it was us.
It was. I'm just gonna make one other comment in regards to the placement of that. And I know there's people behind us that they have, their opinions, and I respect that. I think we if it was up to me, it would not be there, it would be across the road on less prime ag land. But I understand their process is what it is, so we have to work with that. But ideally,
So you're talking the south there?
yes, yep. But ideally, we wanted to do it so it would be the least invasive for our neighbors. And I know it's a hard question to answer, but we felt that would be.
But part of it is that we didn't actually choose the site.
Yeah.
So there's a whole committee of architects and stuff behind the company. And they ideally chose that site and came to us.
Yeah,
There's a
our
lot of
engineer,
factors involved for choosing that. It's
Yeah.
not just,
our engineers put limits in terms of slope, and that site across that south would not work. There would be, there's too much slope to begin with, and there would be too much shading of panels trying to do that, or just too much grading to make it, it would then become, as Braden said,
So when you,
unaffordable for us to price for My Energy to purchase the.
so when you refer to grading, you're gonna have to grade a little bit to install these poles, or?
We try to minimize that as much as possible by choosing flat sites, and then when there is topography, our engineers, as Braden said, we're in a niche market where our projects are small enough that we can order steel piles that are of different lengths to accommodate topography. When you build the really large projects, like 1,000 acres, those are just pretty much graded entirely so that the steel can be all the same length and you can just construct it very easily. These projects do accommodate some fluctuation in topography. The tracking system allows a little bit of undulation, but there will be some grading to accommodate that. When we grade, we remove topsoil and replace the topsoil because it is very important for us to have vegetation get established.
All right, thank you. So speaking of vegetation, we're going to talk a little bit about the plan for this site. I will actually let Sherry and Andy talk a little bit about what they would like to do.
So as you can see, the goal is to do grazing.
Yeah, do you want this slide or the?
Yeah, you can leave it here. Okay. The grazing with the agrivoltaics. And we've worked with Ryan Herman and his company to arrange, if it works out that we can put this in place, that he would do the grazing with his sheep. And he has a company that does this on other sites, so he's very familiar with how this all works. And then we also have worked with Shooting Star Native Seeds in Spring Grove regarding doing the remaining perimeter of hand harvested seed and using it as sort of an education plot, because it's really an awareness thing that they're trying to bring back to everyone here in the Midwest, is using native seeds and getting that education around. And we see that, and that's sort of on that other, if you want to go back to that other picture, on that side, on the left-hand side of that picture where there's a larger area. That's where we would do the native seeds, and we don't have the particular species yet. Mark from Shooting Star Native Seeds would work with us on that to see what is a viable seed to be hand harvested in that small area, because it's too small of an area to machine harvest that.
and if I can just interject one other thing, is that it's been brought up repeatedly, and I respect it, that, prime ag land, prime farmland, you're not gonna see anybody disagree with me on the value of that. But I just wanna reiterate, it's still prime farmland. It's not like something is being done to destroy every square inch of that 34 acres. Okay, and I don't want that site to be lost. Again, everybody has their opinion. I've heard it many times. Some of you up there said, I'm just not a fan of solar. I get it, but that's not what this is about. This is about us maintaining our farm, and then it's still utilized in an agricultural way. It's just different. It's not 30-inch soybeans and 30-inch corn. We feed it in the spring and we harvest it in the fall, and we hope we get a price, and away we go. This is a leap of faith for my family to do this, and it may make some waves with some, it may make some friends with others, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be a farmland. And 30 years seems like a lot. A lot of us are not going to be here in 30 years. However, in 30 years, my kids and our kids and our grandkids will likely be able to continue to farm that. And then that's just something that it seems like that part of this detail gets lost in the discussion.
So just to add one more point, the definition of agrivoltaics, because I know that's a newer term, is dual purpose. It's running the solar as well as some sort of either harvesting plants or animals underneath the solar. So that's why the land would actually stay agricultural use and agricultural zoned.
So you don't have any concerns of what this is gonna do to the farmland over the time span of 30 years?
No.
I think it's
Why
gonna be
would we?
better.
I've been doing some research on some of this in Michigan. This is getting to be a big thing in Michigan. And they're putting on large solar fields in potato country where they raise a lot of potatoes. And they're being told, because of the shards of metal, shards of glass, getting into the soil, that Frito-Lay and some of these potato companies will not take any potatoes on that ground after it's come out of use.
So are you saying that these are solar farms that have already been taken out of commission? So then those solar farms should have gone into commission how long ago?
They're just saying that now before they even come out of commission, that if you put this into solar, we will not contract with you on that land for potatoes off that ground. I've been to several places.
Bring that,
Well,
did you bring that?
unfortunately, Ryan Herman's not here tonight, but he has a lot of data on where he's already placing sheep under solar, and it's all over the country. It's in Minnesota, it's in Texas.
Well, I'm just glad we're not
I ju-
raising potatoes.
I just feel like there is a lot of positive for putting the animals underneath the solar. I don't know about the potatoes, I never heard that, but
Maybe Herman would know what kind of leaching is from the solar into the ground. But he's not here, is he?
I do have a statement from Ryan. He wanted to join us.
He can answer that question?
Well, I'll read his statement. He wanted to join us, but he had a conflict. So these are Ryan's words. I'm a fifth-generation farmer here in Houston County. My farm has had diverse production throughout its history. We began with log cutting and a sawmill. My great-grandfather also had a mechanic shop on the farm. Crops followed, as well as various livestock, including dairy, beef, a confinement chicken layer operation, confinement hogs, and pastured beef cows with feedlot finishing. Raising corn and soybeans as well as hay was a staple in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Organic crops, grass-fed beef, and hair sheep have been more recent products. As you can see, the past generations have adapted to the times, flexing production with local need and markets. Grazing sheep under solar panels is no different. It's a great opportunity for not only my farm, but others in the area. For those who hold a contract in vegetation management under the panels, it allows you to expand your acreage while getting paid to do so. Instead of searching for additional pasture to rent to grow my flock, along with installing additional fence to do so, I can now add my sheep to an already secure fenced farm. Some farmers scoff at sheep, feeling they are a lesser species than cattle. There is an old saying that many of today's cattle ranches out west were originally bought and paid for with sheep. In the last year, cattle have finally reached the profitability that a sheep enterprise enjoys year in and year out. If you overlook the jabs you get from the neighbors while at the coffee shop, sheep will make you a happy farmer. The U.S. currently imports 70% of the lamb needed for domestic sales. The American sheep industry is excited about solar grazing in the hope that we can produce much more of the lamb we need right here in the USA. Grazing under solar panels is a great life for sheep. Shade from the sun and protection from wind and rain help performance. A recent study by University of Minnesota Extension specialist Brad Hines found that animal performance increased due to the shade under the panels. Other sheep producers I have visited with have talked of similar outcomes. Better animal health, more lambs weaned, better weaning weights, and even higher quality wool have been cited. I have noticed similar benefits on my own farm. 20 years ago, I chose to seed down my entire farm to deep-rooted, high-energy, perennial, cool, and warm season grasses. By practicing rotational grazing, I've been able to produce a full-time living without crop farming. Now I find myself with 2 out of my 3 kids wanting to return to the farm. Honestly, I wish I could say with confidence that they should return and I have great opportunities for them. Yes, my family believes in changing with the times, but it seems the opportunities in agriculture are dwindling. An off-farm job along with part-time farming to support the family is becoming the norm. We are looking to solar grazing as an enterprise that has the potential to be a large portion of our farm income in the future. And I would say, in addition, we do work with researchers that come and do soil studies on several of our projects, and that research is underway, but we haven't heard anything negative about soil under our panels, and I'm not sure where shards of glass or metal would come from. These panels are tempered glass. If there is damage to one, we replace them because we only get paid if the solar is producing. So these projects are monitored and we are alerted right away when something isn't producing. So they are contained if anything were to damage them, and they would be removed.
Well, maybe he can make money raising sheep on his farm, but he's gonna have a tough row to hoe raising grass-fed beef and sell it to people that know what good beef is, I can tell you that.
It just states here in one of the findings that that you feel that there's no concern of leaching.
Correct.
So I'm just curious why you would even bring that up as a concern.
It's just a common question we get from
So
folks that have
It's never
heard it.
been talked about in the industry of leaching of metals and.
We have reports from the solar producers that they have to go through leaching, like testing for leaching, where they grind up the panel and like submerge it in like an acidic solution, and nothing is detected in terms of that. They are considered by the EPA as non-hazardous waste.
Is there any way to test that out in the field, in the soil underneath, to see if there's any leaching? Is there such a thing as a company or something that takes soil samples? And I'm just asking.
I mean, we do have researchers that are studying soil under solar panels. I don't know that a company exists that goes in and does that as a business.
I
but
just said a company, but
yeah,
it would have to be somebody that had qualifications, and wouldn't do me much good to go out there and take soil sample because I wouldn't know what I was looking for.
The other thing I would add is that the Minnesota Department of Public Health and a consultant that we have worked with before that does wetland delineations for us and phase 1 environmental site assessments, they were collaborating on research for targeting DWSMAs, drinking water supply management areas in Minnesota, where they would replace row crops with solar because they knew it would reduce the nitrate levels there. So the vegetation that we established, the pollinator prairie, it infiltrates more. And so the studies that I am aware of and the research and the interest in putting solar on land has all been about wresting the soil from traditional row crops and revitalizing it with the prairie, the grazing pasture, or the pollinator prairie that we plant.
But you're right, that you plant in the fall, that's supposed to do the same thing to the
Correct.
soil.
Yep,
I mean, that's what they claim,
Cover crops, yeah.
yep,
cover crop.
yep, cover crops.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily have to be under solar.
Solar, it could be cover crops.
Correct.
That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
Yep. I think we go to the FAQs.
Yeah. I mean, these are just, yeah. Okay. So we're moving into kind of the frequently asked questions portion of this presentation. One of the most common ones, which I'm sure is relevant topic here, use of farmland. People are concerned about how much of the farmland is going to be taken by solar projects like this. Something to think about. Farmers have always been innovators and huge helps in the country when it comes to energy production. About 34% of Minnesota's corn goes to ethanol production. Excuse me. Highly efficient single-axis tracking solar with bifacial panels actually generates about 100 times more energy per acre than corn ethanol. That is taken after considering all of the energy inputs going into the manufacturing of the panels versus the watering, planting, harvesting, transporting of corn ethanol. So all of that's kind of factored in that number.
Do you factor in what corn ethanol, the byproducts that it produces?
I don't know if that.
The DDGs and feedstuffs for animal feeding and.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that study specifically factored that in, but I could look into that.
It'd probably be different if you factored in all what the byproducts of ethanol produce.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to look into that for you. Analysis by the Department of Energy estimates that about 10.3 million of acres of farmland would be needed to reach the highest levels of solar development. That equates to about 1.15% of all U.S. farmland. There's never an expectation that solar will be our only source of energy. It'll always be a combination of different factors producing energy throughout this country. So,
What does highest deployment of solar mean? Is that?
yeah, that's like highest deployment being like in the energy mix. They don't expect that it'll be above a certain percentage. I don't recall what the percentage they're using as a benchmark is in that study. Another thing I can definitely.
It's kind of like the maximum it would ever take up is 10.3.
Yes.
1%.
Yeah, like you don't want a higher mix than a certain percentage to be all concentrated into one energy production. So, yeah, good question. Another frequently asked question we get, excuse me, is property values. People are concerned about their properties dropping dramatically in value. There have been many studies done asking this question, and the results are generally pretty mixed, but the main conclusion is that any change is generally pretty minimal. Projects, especially projects smaller than 20 megawatts, this one being 5 falls under that, have a positive impact on nearby property values than projects larger than 20 megawatts. That's just saying 5 megawatt projects have less of an impact. A Chisago County, Minnesota assessor noted that sales near a solar project are similar to sales outside the solar area.
I'll just add that these two pictures,
Yeah, thank
the
you.
one in the bottom left corner is in Black River Falls. And that was a project that we did in 2021. And the driveway of the project is shared by the farm, the home and the farm. And the landowners that we worked with to sign the lease, the wife had a job change, and they ended up moving across the state. And they wanted to keep the income from the solar, so they subdivided their property to have the solar be one parcel and then the home and the rest of the farm be the remaining parcel. And they were able to sell their farm without any decreased value. And those new landowners have no benefit from the solar lease themselves. And then the picture in the top right there is by Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And that is a new subdivision that is being built north of the project. And homes are still being built there and sold. That project was installed in 2023.
Yeah, I guess one other anecdote just on property in general, kind of a story we've had recently, a project up near Rochester. We actually had somebody buy property to build a home right behind where our project is going to be, and they were fully aware that there would be a project there. So, Yeah, studies are mixed. Some people obviously aren't going to want to do that, but overall, the effects are found to be pretty minimal. Moving on, rooftops. You know, a lot of people will say, "We should put these all on roofs. Why don't we put these all on roofs?" Unfortunately, rooftop panels produce about 40% less energy per panel due to not having always the optimal orientation. They don't have the tracking. They don't have the bifacial element. On top of that, installing on a roof is about 55% more expensive than ground mount systems. Health and safety, these panels and the components are safe for people and wildlife. On the bottom there, we have a picture of one of our coworkers, his son, getting up, and you can touch panels. They won't hurt you. We also have some robin's nests and eggs and chicks that have kind of built a home right under one of our panels.
You mentioned it earlier, maybe on that. So if like, let's say somebody throws a baseball.
Yeah.
One of those, what happened? Does it shatter and all the glass goes on the ground, or what happens?
No, so good question. These panels are pretty resilient. They're tempered glass, similar to a windshield. So they don't shatter. They may splinter. Due to hail, we've had one panel be damaged by hail over our 20 almost years of business, and it had struck the metal aluminum frame, which kind of dented it in and splintered the tempered glass right there, but everything stays enclosed within it. And these panels are able to, when they're under stress, they're able to orient themselves to the best orientation to reduce that stress. So if there's big hail coming down, the panels can rotate and makes the deflection at an angle, less head-on. And that's why we don't see a lot of panels actually get damaged by hail.
How does the panel know how to do that?
It has sensors. It has like weight sensors. It does the same thing with snow. If it senses a heavy snow load, it's able to slip and dump it off. So it's pretty cool. It reduces the need to ever do any snow clearing. We've never had to go do snow clearing either, which is really cool. Good question. A few more. We'll kind of go through these a little bit quickly. A lot of people are concerned about glare. We have panels that actually have an anti-reflective coating, and we've cleared every FAA screen that I've done. We even have some projects that are located next to airports, kind of showing that glare is not a huge concern with these types of panels. Sound, from the fence line, I've never heard any sound. The sound would be coming from the transformer and inverter that make a sound similar to like your household refrigerator. It's not necessarily loud. From the fence line, it's completely inaudible.
Is that any different than like your standard transformer inverter if it's coming from solar versus anywhere else?
Yeah, you guys are probably used to that. Anyone that's,
Yeah.
all your transformers in your yard would make that same humming noise.
Yeah. Thanks,
Oh,
Ken.
And I'll just add, because Beth had stated this in an earlier meeting, that they have to follow guidelines that the sound that's coming from the center cannot be heard by the fence line. So if you're standing at the fence line, you can hear it at that point, but not beyond it, right? Like, that's all measured.
And sometimes you can't hear it at the fence line. You have to get even closer.
Yeah, from my personal experience, I've never heard it from the fence line.
What are the requirements for measuring that? I mean, multiple times a year, times a day? Because obviously a sunny summer day, it's gonna
Right.
be zinging, and now it wouldn't be.
Right.
We plan it for the highest output production times, yeah.
And do people measure that yearly? Is there a log on that, or?
There are people that do noise studies that you can
But
have
it's
it
not,
measured.
not like set up where you guys,
We don't routinely do it, no.
No. Usually, we've had places that will require it of us, and then we'll do it. And yeah, they would have to come out on a day where it's producing at peak capacity, where it would be the loudest theoretically.
So I've heard the number 40 to 50 decibels.
Yeah. Yep. 45, I think, is what we usually find at the fence line. And that's similar to, like, I think they classify that as quiet library. But with all of the other ambient sounds, I think they all kind of drown each other out. And yeah, pretty inaudible. Moving on, wildlife. We've done some wildlife reviews through the Fish and Wildlife Service and Minnesota DNR. And we've found that no critical habitat or species should be impacted from this project. Our sites don't generate any sort of odor. For traffic, post-construction, these sites really don't see a lot of traffic. We put 1 to 2 trucks a month up there for operations and maintenance, and that would be pickup trucks. Honestly, it's probably less than that. That's a pretty conservative estimate there. But during the construction of the project, we expect to see around 60 delivery trucks with all of our panels and materials, and then about 200 or so dump trucks to build out our driveway. And then for other permits that we receive for projects like this, our Minnesota PCA, stormwater and erosion permit, and building mechanical permits, and then electrical permits. For the removal of these projects, we have it built into our lease that within a year of the project no longer producing power, we are required to remove it. We have a decommissioning plan that all components will be removed from the site. The nature of these sites makes decommissioning and removal pretty simple, given that it's just steel piles into the ground. They're relatively easy to just uproot with some heavy machinery. The project owner is responsible for decommissioning. We expect that to be us. That is our plan, at least.
So maybe on that piece, so the project owner isn't My Energy?
No, so we will be the project owner. That's our plan. And then we have a power purchase agreement with My Energy.
So just a thought here, right? So My Energy, you're gonna probably be around for sure 30 years from now, right? You guys produce power for everybody. There's been a lot of, renewable energy companies, if we're being honest, that have gone out of business over the years.
Yeah.
Is it better to have My Energy also have to guarantee that, so that if you guys aren't around, you're out of business? Oh, or better question, you guys are out of business, what's gonna happen at that time?
I agree with what Josh just said. I think it'd be.
Yeah, no, that's a valid concern. The lease, say we were to go out of business, the lease and the project would be for sale, go to auction. Somebody else would assume that legal requirement with the lease. Beth, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, I mean, that's just, like all of our projects, we commit to it in the lease, and if the county or township that we're working in want to require an additional form of security on that, we work with you to do that. I would say that the other piece to keep in mind is that we routinely have gotten third-party estimates from third-party engineers on the cost to remove versus the salvage value of these materials. And at year 5, the cost to remove versus the salvage value is extremely in favor of the salvage value. So there's a high motivation for anyone to remove it. And the engineers always estimate that salvage value will be higher than the cost to remove through at least year 15 of the project.
So you wouldn't put up a bond for that then?
Well, that would be something that we could talk to you about as a condition of a permit.
But I read that in your application here, that if its salvage value is higher than the cost of removal, you wouldn't put up a.
I mean, that's what we ask
Yeah.
for you to consider, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely talk with a lot of AHJs about different forms of security for peace of mind that these will be removed at the end of their life. So that's definitely something we're willing to talk with y'all about. Sorry, yeah.
Kind of along those same lines, why doesn't My Energy actually own it and then lease the land and own the project? Why do you guys lease it, or essentially buy it from them to buy from you to sell?
Well, I mean, this is a little different now, but typically the tax value, the tax credits on that isn't something that the utility would go for. That would be the developer. I wish we owned some solar. I can't get our CFO to buy into it. So like, definitely something we've looked at too, but like, just for my energy scenario here, yeah, we can do a PPA. We don't have to invest. Yes, we have to invest in the infrastructure to feed that solar, but that's it for our investment in the project.
You guys don't have to put up a bunch of money to do it.
Yep,
Still
and then
do
we're
it.
also,
High renewable.
again, like coming from our perspective, we're not maintaining it annually. That's all done through the developer as well.
So you can't get the credits from that to do that.
Renewable energy credits,
One Energy Solar would get that credit, get that income.
typically for their renewable energy credits, yep, that would go to One Energy, or if they find another investor that would want to buy the RECs.
And the tax equity.
Yep.
And I will say that Vernon Electric Cooperative is another cooperative that we work with, that we've done 2 projects for. And speaking at one of the ribbon cuttings with their operations manager, he told his general manager that he would never do another solar project if they owned it because of that issue of what Kent was saying. Like, he is in charge of they have one project that they did before working with us that they do own, and it's been a real nightmare for them to, like, they're just not staffed for having to work.
You guys
on
have the
solar.
technical expertise
Yeah.
on solar versus you guys are.
I mean, it's always been talked about too, does the co-op, do utilities in general get into solar? Do they start selling solar and stuff like that? But yeah, everybody else, we have linemen and stuff, we have staff, but yeah, it would be a whole other thing to take on.
So where are the credits coming from that you're receiving?
The tax equity. So we actually, as a company, we don't benefit from the tax equity. We don't have enough tax liability, so we partner with a community bank, Key State Community Bank, on this portfolio of projects would be the partner that take the tax credit.
And they get it from where? Tax credit? Federal government?
Yeah. There's investment tax credits. Yeah. They are sunsetting.
I thought they already sunsetted.
Not entirely.
Which ones have not sunsetted?
They're just they are decreasing over the years.
The residential one was finished at the end of 2025. So you had to have your system in on a residential level by the end of 2025. ITC tax credit, that one's.
Yeah, and for our projects, it's 2028. They're sunsetting over a period of time.
Just because the larger projects, again, take more time to construct and everything, so they extended that.
Good questions. Actually, just one more thing about that slide. You had asked about panels getting damaged. In the case that they do get damaged, most of the time it's actually just during the delivery of the panels on pallets. We do work with a couple of certified electronics recyclers, one of them being the Retrofit Company out of Minnesota, and then Ontility out of Chicago. They're able to recover 98% of the panel material as glass and aluminum. And then any like copper and silver also has some salvage value at the end of the panel's life. So they aren't just dumped in a landfill. Project costs. Another common question we get is, how is this affordable? Is it all subsidized? Is the only way you can build this because of subsidies? Solar has actually become the most affordable form of energy when subsidies are stripped away. So on this graph here, you can see, back in 2009, I think that is, solar was the most expensive form of energy. But through all the technological advances with solar over the last decade and a half, it has gotten down to right at the bottom there, along with wind, as the lowest cost form of energy generation. On top of that, it is the quickest to deploy. So right now, the United States has a relatively significant energy crisis happening. And the reason you're seeing a lot of solar is because of the economic reasons, but also because it's the quickest form of energy to deploy. And once it's deployed, there's not a lot of costs feeding into it every single year like you see with some other energy sources. For the project benefits on this project, this power is produced locally, consumed locally. That makes the electricity affordable, and therefore makes it affordable to a small electric cooperative like My Energy. The pricing.
And on that, maybe, sorry to cut.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Can you maybe talk about that? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean locally across just My Energy, or is that locally to Houston County, locally to the Caledonia area?
I would say, so overall, the majority of it's gonna be consumed up in that Caledonia substation. So mostly it would be that Caledonia area. Now, there's gonna be times where it does backfeed onto transmission, so then it's just gonna branch out like a network to the other transmission, so then that would branch out to Spring Grove, Eitzen, the city of Caledonia substation, Houston, but the majority of it would be used in the Caledonia sub.
So then their electricity would be cheaper in that area than where we get ours out of.
We would never bill it that way. It would have to be fair across the board type deal. I see where you're coming from.
That's a good question. Thank you. I'll try to speed up here. I know I've been talking for a while.
We've talked about all of these. Should we just move on?
Yeah, sure. We can just move on. We've touched on most of that. Thank you.
And we can't talk about that.
Yep. Yeah, so serving our local population, these projects bring in a lot of jobs. We work with a lot of solar workforce development programs throughout the Midwest that bring on a lot of apprentices and gets them some of their first experience on a work site. Solar installer is actually one of the fastest growing jobs in the US, and that is still the case.
Going back to that,
Yeah.
so when like a project like this takes place, like, we break ground on construction, how long are people actually there working? like,
Yeah.
Before it's done?
Great question. Yeah. So as you can imagine, this is not like an extended multi-year job for people, but it can be if they're traveling to many different sites throughout the year. But these projects take around 4 to 6 months, depending on, various factors like weather and just other general construction problems that they may face. But we expect that at the most, it would take about 6 months from the beginning of construction to it being producing power.
I'll add to that. We work with Hunt Electric a lot on some of these projects, and they have expressed, how many apprentices they have that are, not necessarily just doing solar, then they go on electrician. There's a rising demand for electricians. So these jobs can help get people started in an apprentice role that moves on into just the general electrician field.
Are they from Wisconsin?
Hunt is from Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have a few offices. They have one in Rochester, one in Twin Cities area, and one in Chippewa, or Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls.
Hudson and Chippewa Falls.
Oh, and Hudson. So yeah, they have a handful of offices spread around. For education and tours, or serving the local population, we love to host tours of our projects. If anybody here on the commission was interested in doing a tour to, see what these projects are really like in person, we're always happy to do that. We also like to host schools and other community groups that are interested, walk them around the site, let them get up close and personal with all of the technology and help them understand how they work, kind of take away some of the mythicality around it.
Tomorrow's probably a no-go for the tour though, right?
Yeah, I'll be there, just setting up a tent. But we also do a panel donation program. Generally, we do this with schools. We will offer to donate them some panels as well as a cash grant to help them work with a local installer to get a panel installed and help them save some money on their electricity bills in the long term, but at the same time, give those students a chance to learn a little bit about electricity and solar in general. All right, that is all we got. Just to kind of round it off here, respectfully, we would request that you approve this conditional use permit. We do believe with the incorporation of agriculture on site that will be continued through the life of the project. It does fit in with the values of Houston County and the definition of solar in zoning ordinance. We do believe this project fits into that and is allowable under conditional use in the agricultural protection district. So thank you so much for listening to our presentation. Really appreciate you all giving us this opportunity. And thank you, Kent, Sherry, and Andy for your partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Big guys.
Well, next we'll go to public comment. Do you want to read the public comments first, or you want to have, what do you want to do? You want to have public comment from the people in the audience before you read the written comments, or what?
I guess that's up to you. We don't always read so we didn't get any written public comments after the board packet, so we don't necessarily always read those
Okay,
then.
that's fine.
It's typically just if they came in later.
That's-
Yeah, you can open up for public comment. I guess I do have a couple comments too, just to clarify some questions, but I can go at the end as well.
Do you want to go first, or do you want to go with public comments first?
I can cover things first, because then maybe it'll answer some questions, just that I've heard from maybe a more procedural standpoint. So kind of going backwards, the comprehensive land use plan, some of you guys were involved in, that started back in 2022 and ended in 2023. And at that point in time, that was a project that the county hired a contractor to work on. The comprehensive land use plan is a high-level document, and that just provides everyone, both residents and then you guys as decision makers, a guide for future growth and development. And some of this is just for, I guess, the benefit of the public that's here that maybe didn't read have the board packet in front of them. So comprehensive land use plans, the Minnesota statutes dictate that we can do them, and then as an area outside of the metro, or outside of metro, they tell us we have the ability to set goals and objectives that preserve agriculture, forest, wildlife, and open space, and minimize development in certain areas like shoreland. So that is reflected in our plan. I guess I wanted to point out that our previous plan did not address anything with alternative energies. I think that was just a fact that when TKDA came in and we started looking at things, they asked about what we've seen for solar permitting here, and we have had an increase, I would say, in my time here in looking at solar as an accessory use to a dwelling. We have a couple ag buildings that utilize it, but for the record, we have no commercial solar in the county right now. And so when we were talking about that from the comprehensive land use standpoint, it didn't get reflected because it wasn't a need that we had here. Then moving forward into the middle of 2024, end of 2024, I was approached by not only Beth, but another company as well, as far as looking at doing commercial solar here. And as things got more serious with this one and looking at what our ordinance and our comp plan requirements were, I had brought up concerns with inconsistencies not only within language in the ordinance, but between the ordinance and the comp plan. And that was kind of why we looked at doing a moratorium in the first place. So as far as the zoning ordinance concerns, I guess for the public's sake here, the zoning ordinance is the regulatory document. That is the one that we base our decisions on. It's the one that puts forth performance standards. It dictates the zoning districts and what kind of uses are allowed in zoning districts. And then it gives us a mechanism to permit projects and mechanism to enforce if need be. So as far as solar energy systems, our ordinance has had the same language since 1982, which from what I've found is kind of the start of solar in the nation. But it calls it just is, it's very broad, and it just is, it's a design or assembly consisting of a solar energy collector, a storage facility, when used, and then components for the distribution of that. So it, like I said, it's very broad. It could be a panel on your roof, the roof of your house, and commercial solar. And that's why we're here today, because I don't feel that under our current ordinance, there was anything that told me that we don't allow commercial solar. And I guess that is my concern, because it also states that it's permitted uses in all districts, with the exception that in the ag district, it also notes it as conditional. So that was one of the inconsistencies, I guess, that I had kind of been proposing to fix. Commercial solar should not be a permitted use. And doing the research that I did to draft the ordinance that we were proposing, none of I think I pulled 10 ordinances from mostly our neighbors, but just counties across Minnesota and I guess Allamakee, and it is not a permitted use in any of those. So I do appreciate that One Energy was trying to accommodate kind of the typical requirements and is willing to go through the conditional use process. However, so I'm sure you guys have read your board packets, but with all this being said, like I said, the conflicting language between the conditional use permit, the comp plan, between the ordinance and the comp plan, and then just within our ordinance was what drove, I guess, the discussion around a moratorium, and then the board at that time in enacting that moratorium. So that went in place December 31st of 2024. So basically all of 2025, we were looking at doing, putting a different ordinance in place. And we did get an ordinance in place for commercial solar, and then clarifying some of those other items for the residential. We did get that drafted. You guys had public hearings within your body for May, October, and November was the final. That utilized input, if you recall, from a project that the University of Minnesota did that was independent of the county. And then we also took input from the Great Plains Institute, which is an organization that assists local government units in putting together language. And that was primarily to draft the language regarding the balance of prime agricultural use, and that was by instituting some agrivoltaics, which they discussed that was part of this project. But ultimately, that was never approved, and the moratorium expired. So we sit here today. Solar energy systems are allowed. It's that simple, but it doesn't define a maximum and setbacks or anything like that. And what you guys are tasked with now is looking at it in conjunction with the comprehensive land use plan. And Section 2.6 of the zoning ordinance, and is also referenced in finding number 1, which you guys will get to, states that it's the policy of the county board that the enactment, amendment, and administration of this ordinance be accomplished with due consideration of the purposes and objectives of the county land use plan as adopted and approved and amended from time to time. There is a way to allow commercial solar, and we were attempting to get there and just didn't by the end of the moratorium, but this is not the right way. And my concern is that by allowing this, you kind of invalidate the comprehensive land use plan, and then that leaves our office looking like we have no credibility. And so that is why my denial, or my recommendation was denial for this project. But I thank you guys. You did put together a very comprehensive plan that I think was intended to meet most of the requirements of the ordinance that we had drafted. So that was my input.
Can you maybe clarify on that one thing, on the, which part of the comp plan do you think it specifically says, no, you cannot do solar?
So the policy the overall goal, yes, does say encourage options for alternative energy systems. In my opinion, the policy, though, that was put in place, which states that we should explore standards and permitting requirements for alternative energy systems used for personal use or by individual residences or businesses. That was the only policy we put in place because that's really the only thing we've experienced to this point. And so if you recall, and maybe Commissioner Johnson can comment more on that since I guess he was involved with that process as well. But if you recall, part of the amendments that we were proposing was to add an additional one within this that would accommodate distribution level alternative energy systems as well. Not strictly solar, I guess.
So are we saying that, so the comp plan encourages alternative energy exploration? Is that correct, right?
Correct, at a
Personal
small
use.
scale.
At a small scale?
Personal use and individual residents or businesses.
So which part do we think that it negates non-personal use specifically? Like, is there a section?
Commercial isn't addressed in the comprehensive land use.
So I guess if it isn't addressed, though, that's not saying that's not discouraging, or we're just saying it's not in there completely?
Right.
That wouldn't necessarily be a no, it would be up for interpretation.
Well, but you gotta look at the whole comprehensive land use plan as a whole.
Yep.
And, you know, how many times we've been through this, but our goal was to protect prime ag land in Houston County for agriculture production. That's been our number one goal and throughout the pages here in the comp plan. So if you take that in conjunction, along with the scenic, wide open spaces and the beauty of the area, that's where we have an issue with the comp plan.
But didn't they just turn it into pasture? I mean, the solar panels are there, obviously.
Right.
But it's
It's
pasture. I mean, the clover, the rye, that's pasture mix. And there's going to be sheep there, so it's still agricultural.
Right.
It's just a dual use.
But it has large solar panels on it.
That could come out. I mean, the
It's not-
soil
it's
in
not gonna
30
come out.
years would
They're
be better
they're
off
applying
than
to
it
put
was
it
right
in.
now.
They're applying to put it in. Yeah. They're want to get a permit to put it in. It's not gonna come out.
Well, it has a lifespan. If they just decided to turn this 25 acres into pasture
They could do that,
and nobody would say anything.
right?
It-
But they're not doing that.
But putting the
They're
it's
putting
still
the panels.
pasture.
No, but they're putting panels that are,
But it's still pasture.
Let's discuss this afterwards.
yeah, we should be doing that. We should get in comments,
Let's
right?
get comments from the public. And I hate to cut you off short, but we'll allow you like 3 minutes. So if you want, anybody got a public comment for or against or whatever, please come up, state your name.
You have a timer, Amelia, or what do you?
I do.
Thank you. So anybody that wants to come forward,
If you could put your name on the sign-in sheet as well, that helps us with record keeping.
that'd be good.
Oops, hold on one second.
Whenever you're ready.
I didn't know when the timer started.
Well,
It has.
I'll just start it whenever you start talking here.
Good evening. I'm Clint Bonnerx, the local landowner in Houston County. I'm approaching you tonight as a member of our ag community and as a supporter of our comprehensive plan. I am asking for this permit and ones that will follow be denied. as they affect the moral compass of this comp plan. My issue has never been with renewable energy, just its occupation of productive ag lands. I've heard the argument, it's our land and we can do with it what we want. I agree to that to an extent, but without rules and regulations, that could really lead to a slippery slope. So I ask you again to please consider our comprehensive plan. Pasture is one thing, littering it with panels is another thing. So I see both sides of it, and I've had a lot of time to think about this. And I don't think that this is what we want to look back on in 5-10 years from now and think that is something good for the community, because I don't think it is. We got to think about the next generation, not the financial gain of the generation that's here now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelly Meyer, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I would agree, you know, I see both sides, and I do believe people should have the right to do what they want with their land, you know, up to a point where I think it can affect the surrounding community and the neighboring properties. I respect Andy and Sherry and Minnesota Energy and One Energy and their presentation. But a couple things that I guess concern me. I've been a realtor in this area for almost 20 years now, and I work with all sorts of buyers that live here or want to come live here from out of the area, other states, cities, wherever, and they come here because we have such a beautiful area. We have great farmland, the views, and, you know, just the nice rural community. And I kind of, I guess, to the comment that it doesn't affect property values, I do feel it will affect property values. I mean, I've talked to people over the years that talk about, you know, since solar farms are kind of coming into play, and how they don't want to be by a solar farm. So I think that will affect the values for sure. I haven't listed a property next to a solar farm, but I just have been talking with various people, and it is a concern for them. I don't know the answer to clean energy for the future, but I feel like there has to be land that's not prime farmland that it can go on. But also, I guess some concerns that I have, I just don't feel like maybe there's enough long-term research that's been done on the effects on health, on natural, like our wildlife, and our soils. Like, you know, coming from having cancer a few years ago, I really got into the whole health thing, like what's in our environment and all of that. And so that's really a huge concern for me, and I think it would be a huge concern for our community. And then I kind of looked over the comprehensive land plan too, and I think the goal, at least the part that I, you know, kind of researched, is prime land is important to keep farmland. You can't make more farmland. And I feel like, and I do a lot of the research that I have on the internet, and I know the presentation pointed out some different things. I don't know all the correct answers to it, but I feel like they will be a detriment to good farmland. So that's just kind of my thoughts. And then I think this is going to allow precedent for other land in the county, and I don't think that's the right way to go. So I appreciate you allowing me to talk, and thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Klinsky, live out in Union Township. As far as the human health that she just talked about, I really think the chemical spray and the fungicide and the insecticide and the synthetic fertilizers that's getting put on this ag ground is more detrimental than the solar panels. And the leaching of, I don't think it's gonna leach anything out, whatever. And the noise, I think that's a non-issue. that was brought up also. I think it's a win-win as far as the agrovoltaic, is that how you say that? With the sheep grazing underneath. I mean, it's still productive land, ag land, with the sheep grazing underneath it. Even though it has solar panels on it, I still consider it ag land. And to me, the panels look good. I mean, this country doesn't need any more corner beans. We're trying to export our way out of that. It needs clean electricity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Allison Wagner, Houston County, City of Caledonia resident. First, I want to thank you for your service serving on the Houston County Planning Commission. You do not always have an easy job, and I want to acknowledge that. I'm here tonight in support of Amelia and the zoning department's recommendation to deny the CUP as the proposal does not conform to the county land use plan. The zoning department was doing their job and did the right thing based on the current rules when they made this recommendation. It is your job to do the same and follow the current guidelines. The only way that this project could move forward is if the comp plan were to be amended. Regardless of how any of us in this room personally feel about commercial solar, it is your job on the Planning Commission and the county's job to make decisions based on our current comp plan and ordinances as they stand at this moment. I love Houston County, and I feel that it is very important that the county follow proper procedures and follow the comp plan and ordinances when looking at each and every application. The overarching theme is in the comp plan is appreciation for the county's beauty and our wide open spaces. Thank you again for your service and for your time.
Anybody else? If there isn't anybody else, we'll close the public comments. Did you have anything to add? Did you have anything to add after the public comments?
I think we probably took enough of your time.
Well, I wanted to give you the opportunity.
I appreciate it, yeah.
So let's go to the findings then. Now, in the findings, the way this works, the staff puts together what they think should be written in the findings. And if there's any changes here before we vote on each finding, we will address it and change it before we vote on it. We're also going to have a roll call vote on the findings. Originally, I guess the boards, correct me if I'm wrong, are supposed to be part of the findings, writing them up. But I wouldn't honestly know where to start. I mean, I'd know where to start, but you know what I mean. So with that said, go ahead, Amelia.
All right, so finding number 1, that the proposed use conforms to the county land use plan. Analysis states that no, section 2.6 of the zoning ordinance requires that the administration of the ordinance be accomplished with due consideration of the purposes and objectives of the County Land Use Plan. The Land Use Plan policy for alternative energy goals states review and explore standards and permitting requirements for alternative energy systems used for personal use or by individual residences or businesses. This proposal is not consistent with the plan. Larry Ghosted.
I agree with this proposal is not consistent with our plan.
Yes, if you guys could provide some explanation too, that would be helpful with your decision. John Glasspool.
I'm going to agree with this also. I really think if this would have been taken care of at the commissioner level with the recommendations, we could have maybe done something different here.
I guess I just want to clarify too, when you say agree, you're voting no, correct? Josh Gran.
I'm going to disagree. I think this statement is essentially saying because it only states in the plan specifically that it's for personal use, individual residence, et cetera, it doesn't, I think we've already said it didn't, it's not in there to stop it, right? We're just saying it was never included. If it was never included, doesn't mean it's not allowed, right? There's no language in there saying it's not allowed. So I would disagree with this comment.
Franklin.
Yes, I agree. It's a tough job to sit on these boards, and we have a zoning ordinance, we have a comprehensive land use plan, and I know that, I'm not gonna put the commissioners on the spot. Here, there's two of them here, three of them, excuse me. But, if we don't follow our zoning ordinance and a comprehensive land use plan, and then 1 month we just ignore it, and then next month we discipline somebody else, I can't go that way. Whether we have to change our zoning ordinance, our comprehensive land use plan, what have you, we tried that. The commissioners voted it down, and that's my reasoning.
Eric.
Yes, I agree with the staff analysis. I believe the comprehensive land use plan would need to be amended to consider this permit. We also should have an ordinance that addresses this permit, retaining or addressing commercial solar. And I just want to pull a quote that was said at a planning commission meeting in the city of Caledonia, and that says, changes should be applied with a purpose of overall growth, positive movement forward for the entire community of taxpayers, not the benefit of individual gain or personal objectives. So I agree with that staff analysis.
Chase?
I agree with it. If they're not, if everybody as a whole doesn't have to follow that, why do we have your office to enforce it? So I agree with it. It would have to be amended in order to allow it, the comp plan, with an ordinance.
And Rich?
I have to disagree. I think it's still ag land. I think when you see the wording of residences and businesses, I consider those guys' businesses is pretty vague, and I think they qualify as businesses, so I disagree with this.
Okay.
Amelia, could I add something to my comment?
Yeah.
Throughout this last year, I have visited with a lot of residents of Houston County and residents of different counties. I've even visited with a person who installs solar panels for a local company. And I've told him what's going on. His explanation was, why would you want to put it on prime ag land? I've talked to probably 50, 60 people from this county at different times throughout this year. And they said, do not allow it on prime ag land. We only have so much prime ag land. And these are not farmers. I'd say 60% were not farmers that said, do not put it on prime ag land. So that's kind of a consensus, what the people are thinking of in this county to preserve our ag land.
Okay, go to 2.
2, that the applicant demonstrates a need for the proposed use. Staff analysis states that My Energy Cooperative has identified the Caledonia substation as one with capacity to handle solar generation, and it's been cited that solar energy may help minimize blackout effects experienced during times of high demand. Minnesota has required a certain degree of energy production to be from renewables, and this project will help My Energy work towards that goal.
I'd like to add, after solar energy may, I'd like to add or may not help minimize blackouts, because we're only guessing here that it's going to. Also, on here where work towards, on the bottom, work towards the goals of the My Energy. We've been working towards the goals of solar with these smaller solars.
So how would you propose will help?
I guess I think energy may help minimize blackout. Isn't it saying that already? You're saying it might, which is, it may or may not already, right?
Now, when you leave it that way, it's installing in your mind that it's going to help. So we should have the opposite. I mean, I'm not against it, by no means, but to say it may minimize it, and it may not.
I think saying may, like, I mean, it's semantics, right? But saying may there is saying that. It's saying it may help it, which automatically means it might not help it.
Would you rather say might help?
I mean, it's cement. It's the same thing, right? It's already saying it.
So then when on the bottom down there, it says where this project will help My Energy work towards that goal, well, the smaller solar's already working towards that goal for My Energy, in my opinion.
I think that statement's just saying this project would help additionally, right? Work towards that goal, which I think would be factually accurate from My Energy's standpoint.
We could probably just leave it the way it is and vote yea or nay in the reasons for it.
We'll strike both of them out then.
You can include those as your comments. So strike that, or just keep it as is. John?
I'm gonna say yes, because I understand My Energy is trying to meet standards that are set by a higher power here.
Josh?
I'm going to say yes. In general, we need to produce more energy across the country.
Franklin?
I agree, and you already got my comments, so.
Eric?
I disagree. I don't think it's demonstrated need for the proposed use. Because I don't agree that it will minimize blackout effects, because they haven't experienced a blackout effect at that substation as of yet. So I don't, it could help with that in the future, but right now, there's been no situations that I know of where there's been blackouts at that substation. So I'd say I disagree, no. Yep.
Chase?
I'll have to say yes. I mean, it's been a growing demand for power with everything going on.
Larry?
Yes, the biggest wording here is may help minimize blackout, but you emphasize may help.
And Rich?
I agree with the analysis. I think that we'll always need help generating electricity. More is always going to, we're always requiring more.
All right, number 3. That the proposed use will not degrade the water quality of the county. Analysis states that removing ground out of row crop production and replacing that with perennial vegetation will likely build soil health that will ultimately promote water quality. The petitioner identified in the application that panels are made of non-toxic materials, which include aluminum frame, tempered glass, copper wiring, and silica sand, and that any damage to the panel will remain within the enclosed frame with no concern of leaching. Josh?
Yes, I agree with that based on the information we've been provided.
Franklin?
I got a little question, and I'm just trying to learn. What's the difference between silica sand and frac sand? Does anybody know that?
Is that of the quality that
we
consider frac?
I'm not an expert in frac sand.
Well, I don't either, but the county printer got tore apart here a few years ago over frac sand, and I was just wondering if there's a difference between silica sand and frac sand, because it's in the findings there. So I guess until I knew the difference between that, I would vote no on that one. That's my reasoning. Not that I'm against it, but I don't know the answer to it.
Eric?
I vote no too, given because of my research into the leaching effects of solar panels and the fact that human consumption companies such as potato farms, soybean, human consumption for soybeans and anything, there's a concern of leaching, so I vote no.
Chase?
As far as water quality, I don't, kind of like was brought up before, I don't know that there's how many years of research is behind this, so I guess I'm a no on that until I saw more of that. And it's kind of been talked about, you don't like karst regions, correct? Because of the sinkhole possibility and whatnot? And I think.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it would be bad for our solar panels to sink into a sinkhole.
Right.
But I will say that we are building by Rochester, and our geotechnical analysis was completed there because the project's going to be built this year. And the Soil, Water, and Conservation District reviewed our whole report, and they gave a thumbs up that they didn't have concern.
Rich?
I'm going to agree. I think just the perennials will help water quality. And I worked at Featherstone Farms, right adjacent to My Energy, and an organic farm, and passed all the organic tests every year with that solar panels, the solar array there, and water quality never was an issue. And we never, on the roof-mounted panels we never saw any damage in 14 years.
Larry?
I'm going to vote no. it says in here, this project is over 1 acre partial. There's gotta be a stormwater permit established and required to address the drainage concerns.
That's coming up, isn't it?
That's in another finding.
Right, it's until something like this is proposed, but I'm still gonna vote no on this issue.
Okay. And John?
I'm gonna vote no just because I don't know if it could actually damage the water quality. I would hope not, but I don't know the answer to that.
All right, number 4.
Did everybody? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That the proposed use will not adversely increase the quantity of water runoff. Analysis states that since this project is over 1 acre in size, a construction stormwater permit is required, which will address drainage concerns, and that's through the MPCA. And after the construction phase, vegetation will be established that will also aid in infiltration, and the stormwater basin will remain. Franklin?
I agree.
Eric?
So what you're saying here is that if proposed use will not adversely increase quantity of water runoff if they do this study, right?
Correct, with the mitigation measures.
We don't know the results of that study, that stormwater permit, right? So I can't agree to that without knowing what that's gonna be.
Chase?
I guess with the vegetative cover, I would agree with it, but I want to see the study too, I guess.
Rich?
I agree with the staff analysis, and I think the stormwater permit will address Eric's concerns.
Larry?
I was one step ahead in last comment here, I'm sorry about that. But I don't agree with this. You're taking 25 acres. Not continuous glass, but you look at a roof of similar size, consider the water runoff on that roof. Until we have the study done on this stormwater permit, I gotta disagree with this staff analysis.
John?
I'm gonna agree with the staff analysis. Just because if it's seeded down, it shouldn't have more runoff.
And Josh?
I'm gonna agree as well. I guess it'd be hard for any project to ever pass that analysis if you needed to do the study before you got the permit. So I don't think that's a justifiable reason to reject it.
All right, number 5. That soil conditions are adequate to accommodate the proposed use. Analysis states that the applicant identifies that the silt loam type soil found at this location is consistent with soil types found at many existing solar projects, but they plan to complete additional geotechnical analysis prior to construction, and silt loams are adequate for site development. And that was referencing our the NRCS soil survey. Eric?
Yeah, I agree with the analysis on this. Unfortunately, it's silt loam soil, it's just prime farmland, so, but I agree with the analysis.
Chase?
Yeah, I agree. Silt loam.
Rich?
Yes, silt loam will be fine.
Larry?
Yes. With the silt loam found in this farm. It's ideal.
John? Josh,
Yes.
and Franklin.
I agree, but the part in there where it says existing solar projects, the existing solar projects are over in Wisconsin. We don't have any existing solar projects here in Houston County.
All right, number 6, the potential pollution hazards have been addressed and that standards have been met. Analysis states that the applicant maintains that there are no pollution hazards associated with this proposal. Chase?
Yes.
Rich?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Larry?
I don't know if the complete potential pollution hazards have been met with Eric coming up with some stuff that he's read. I just don't think the standards have been met myself.
So no. John?
Kind of tough here. I guess, going back to where I don't know, that was which one? Where I didn't know if it would degrade the water quality. Well, that kind of plays hand in hand with this one. I guess, say it won't pollute anything, but I guess I don't know if we know that, so I'm gonna say.
Josh?
Yes.
Franklin?
I'd have to say no because I don't feel we know enough about what it's gonna do to the soil.
Eric?
Yeah, I also have to say no. I can't take the applicant's word for it that there are no pollution hazards associated with this proposal, given what I've researched.
Number 7, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. Analysis states that a new driveway will be constructed off South Prairie Drive and connection to the substation is necessary. Otherwise, no additional utilities are required for this proposal. Rich?
I agree with that. There's only gonna be one driveway. Simple enough.
Larry?
Yes. I think it's been addressed with the driveway.
John? Josh?
Yes.
Franklin?
Yes, but you have to, I think if the township has ordinances in your township, you would have to get approval from them so that you follow their guidelines.
Yes, and I believe they have done that, correct?
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, just for the record. Eric?
Yes, with township approval.
And Chase?
Yes, it was mentioned and shown in their drawings.
8, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide sufficient off-street parking and loading space to serve the proposed use. Analysis states that the applicant has identified that parking areas for construction staff are included in the design of the staging area as seen on the site plan. After construction, only 1 vehicle per month is expected for maintenance of the site. Larry?
Yes.
John? Josh?
Yes.
Franklin?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Chase?
Yes.
And Rich?
Yes.
9, that facilities are provided to eliminate any traffic congestion or traffic hazard which may result from the proposed use. Analysis states that parking for construction workers and deliveries was considered within the staging area of the site plan, and after construction, the application identifies that only 1 vehicle is anticipated per month. Larry?
Yes.
John? Josh?
Yes.
Franklin?
Yes.
10, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. Analysis states that the primary use of adjacent property outside of agriculture is residential, with 11 dwellings within a half mile. Vegetative screening is included in the site plan for the south portion of the project, and the applicant identifies solar as a silent neighbor with no odor or light pollution and no noise beyond the perimeter of the project. The proposal has passed initial screening by the FAA without further requirements. John?
Got a question on that. What do we mean by injurious? What all is that affecting? I mean, you got neighbors right next door that affects how they look at their property. Not sure where we go with that.
Okay.
I'm gonna say this one.
Josh?
Yes.
Franklin?
I'm gonna have to say no because I'm afraid that's gonna devalue the neighboring property.
Eric?
I'll have to say no to this too. Simply because of the aesthetics and what the neighbors will have to look at. It's not gonna be open, it's gonna be solar panels.
Chase?
I'll have to say no because of that panels, landscape.
Rich?
I'm gonna say yes until the screening's up. Some people might not like it, but once that's up, I think it'll be fine.
Larry?
I'm gonna say no, for pretty much the same reasons as Franklin and Eric said for the view to the neighboring areas.
11, that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for predominant uses in the area. Analysis states that this proposal will not impede surrounding agricultural uses, and there is currently no setback requirement between solar arrays and other uses, so no impact to orderly development is anticipated. Josh?
Can you just elaborate, sorry?
Yep.
On the, when you say no setback requirement between solar arrays and other uses, so no impact to orderly development is anticipated. Isn't that contradictory, or am I understanding that wrong?
Well, I guess I was getting, so setbacks are usually in place, take like a feedlot, for instance, to mitigate concerns with odor, being close by. So being we don't have a setback in place, it could be implied that we don't have a concern that there is any sort of,
So you're basing that
Keep
off
it.
what we have on the books for an ordinance now?
yeah.
So it could be a concern because it's not being addressed.
Could be, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Did I ask for
Josh.
anyone's? I did? Okay, Josh.
I'm gonna vote yes. I don't think it impedes, other uses in that area.
Franklin?
I guess I'll go yes on that. I had reservations about it, but, I'll go yes.
Eric?
I'll vote no. I think it will impede orderly development. It's in an agriculture district. There's no setback requirements. That's concerning. I think that needs to be addressed in an ordinance. Future ordinance. So I vote no.
Chase?
I have to go no. If you're gonna not have any setbacks for this, that I think that does need to be addressed, since it's addressed in so many other places.
Rich?
I'm gonna agree with the staff analysis. I'd say yes.
Larry?
I vote no. I just feel that this is gonna hurt the surrounding area for agricultural uses or for sales of different land in that area.
John?
I'm gonna say yes, just because it's talking about surrounding vacant property.
So 12, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to prevent or control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration, so that none of these will constitute a nuisance, and to control lighted signs and other signs in such a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result. Analysis states that the applicant identifies that there will be no audible noise beyond the project perimeter, nor any lights or associated odor associated with the project. Cover crops will be used prior to construction to minimize dust and erosion, and after construction, vegetation will be established. Franklin?
I gotta vote no, because I know that when you start digging the cover crop the first day, after that, it's gone. You're gonna have dust and you're gonna have erosion if you get a 5-6 inch dumper of rain when they tear up the cover crop.
Eric?
I'll vote yes.
Chase?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes, I worked adjacent to it for quite a while. Offensive odor, fumes, noise was never a problem.
Larry?
I vote yes. They're taking adequate measures with the cover crops for dust and odors.
John? Oops, I guess I forgot. Josh?
Yes.
So 13, I guess we didn't vote to take out, so we'll just do, run through it quick. But that the density of any proposed residential development is not greater than the density of the surrounding neighborhood, or not greater than the density indicated by the applicable zoning district, which is not applicable. Just to keep it consistent, I'll do roll call quick. Larry?
Yes.
John? Josh?
Yes.
Franklin? Eric?
Yeah.
Chase?
Yes.
And Rich?
Yes.
14, that the intensity of any proposed commercial or industrial development is not greater than the intensity of the surrounding uses, or not greater than the intensity characteristic of the applicable zoning district. Analysis states that there is an existing commercial operation approximately a half mile to the south that exists as a non-conforming use, and then the airport is to the east. The substation this project will connect to is a quarter-mile east as well. Allowable commercial uses are limited in the agricultural district, but the applicants identify this will be a dual-use project since sheep grazing and pollinator habitat are incorporated, and there is no county limit on solar acres. The threshold is tied simply to use.
I'd like to amend that to applicants identify this will be a commercial use in ag district. Strike out the sheep. I don't think we should be making a decision because of sheep or solars.
I would say keep the sheep in there, because I think what's being discussed is that this is still agriculture. They're gonna use it for farming. If I didn't, as was mentioned earlier, if I didn't put solar panels there, I could do this with none of our approval. Is it's the landowner's right to do that, and so I think keeping the sheep there is appropriate, because that's the plan, and that does, it is an agricultural use there.
But what it's saying, it's a dual purpose, is that what you're saying? That so you would like to see sheep then run in other projects, so it could be a dual purpose, is that?
I think in this project, I forget what the word is, agroponics, whatever it is, right? The plan is to be a dual use, so I think in this project, it's fair to say that the plan is to have the sheep grazing there.
So would you guys like to amend it or just leave it?
Want to amend it or leave it alone?
Let's vote
vote it
on
up
it
and
is.
down the way it is, I guess the way it is.
Eric?
Leave it alone.
Okay. Yeah, you can go.
I'll say yes, but I just want to point out there is no county limit on solar acres, and that's concerning to me. I think we need to have an ordinance addressing commercial solar.
Chase?
I'll say yes, but I do think an ordinance needs to be in place before we accept anything.
Rich?
I'm gonna say yes because of the dual use.
Larry?
Yes. But my concern is too, there is no county limit on the number of solar acres you can have in a certain site.
John?
Yes.
Josh?
I'm gonna say yes, as stated before, dual use for agriculture.
Franklin?
I'm gonna say no, you know the reason, because it's, in my opinion, it should be a commercial use in the ag district.
All right, and 15, that site-specific conditions and such other conditions are established as required for the protection of the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Analysis states that the applicant identified that they conduct extensive research and diligence on each project. This includes wetland reviews, glare studies, meeting fire and electrical codes, state historic preservation reviews, and natural heritage inventory, among others. The purpose of ordinances is to establish regulations intended to protect the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare, but there are no specific requirements currently established at the local level to do so. Again. Established to do so. Chase.
I'm still comprehending this one.
I can
I'll,
move on to
why don't you?
Rich.
I'll say yes, but I don't think it'll affect the morals of anybody.
What?
The morals.
Oh. That's always in.
Larry.
Yes. They have checked with FFA for different things and includes wetland reviews, glare studies.
John. Josh.
I'm gonna say yes. I think there's thousands of solar projects across the country, and I don't think there's been any hard evidence of health and safety concerns around solar. I think other activities that could be done on this land, there'd be a lot more questions from a lot of people on what's put on the land that could have potential health impacts to people that are much more of concern than solar panels on the land.
Franklin.
I guess I'll go along yes.
Eric.
No.
Chase.
Yes.
Is there a
So,
motion to approve the findings?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now would you be kind enough to read the recommendation, Amelia?
yeah, so I guess I just want to go back and also verify with Michelle that I have the correct notes. It looks like I have motion, or finding number 1, finding number 3, number 6 and number 10 that failed. Okay. So you have 4 findings that failed. And the recommended motion was to recommend to the Houston County Board that they deny a conditional use permit to construct a 5 megawatt solar mounted ground-mounted solar distribution commercial solar project in an agricultural protection district in Caledonia Township.
Does someone want to make a motion for a denial?
Yeah, I think, I guess one of the things I was interested in here, I don't know if it was really answered. Is the contention that the only thing why this isn't okay is based on the comp plan and strictly within the comp plan that we should look to protect prime farmland? Is that the only objection?
There's other questions. As far as.
I mean, it's stated as what Amelia brought up before, that would have to be amended to accommodate this, so.
If, like I stated before, if we're going to stick to the zoning ordinance and what is the zoning ordinance now and the comp plan, we either have to go one way or the other. We either have to stick to what it is, it's like the shoreland. You gotta have so many feet from the shoreland, for example. If we're going to, we gotta go one way or the other, we're gonna be a consistent board. We can't, this month, we're going to just disregard the
comp plan,
and then next month, we're going to enforce the comp plan. We either enforce it or we don't.
But which part of the comp plan do we think it is that we are enforcing, I guess is the question. What part of the comp plan are we enforcing?
Amelia, you want to touch on that?
I guess that's what I'm asking you guys. What part of the comp plan are we enforcing, why we have to enforce it?
It does say that you can't build on prime ag land, doesn't it? Isn't that what the part of the comp plan is about? Comprehensive land use plan?
I believe this would still be used as ag land.
Is it the ag land or is it the commercial use that's the problem?
Well,
because I think it's hard to argue that it's not gonna be used for ag land. I think that's a hard argument to make, because it's clear it's gonna be used for ag land. So, and that property owner has the right, today, they could turn that into sheep grazing.
well, sure.
That's what they're gonna do with it, right? That's completely fine. So I don't think you can make the argument, you're taking, like, I don't think you can say it's the comp plan because it violates, taking prime ag land away, because it's gonna be used for prime ag land, so I think you need another reason to say it violates the comp plan. Because it's still gonna be used as ag land.
Well, I voted against the dual purpose thing because I don't think that is should be part of the commercial solar panels. That's my opinion.
Are you saying that it would be different if they were just gonna put the panels there?
If our
And I think it'd be hard to argue that it's farming still.
Right.
They only put panels there and there is no agricultural, piece of it at the end of the day.
But the sheep in the pasture make it ag.
It's still gonna be
In my mind.
utilized for ag purposes. And the big thing for me too is that property owner could take that land today, turn it into sheep grazing. None of us would say anything about it.
But they're not doing that. They're not doing that though, are they?
They're keeping it agriculture though.
But they're not doing that specifically.
Well, but.
Putting structures on prime farmland. They're putting structures on prime farmland. That's the difference.
Can that prime farmland still be used for the exact same thing if it didn't have those structures on it? If their goal is to raise sheep on it? Does it have any impact on that goal of raising sheep, if that's their goal?
They could pasture the whole 200 acres or whatever they.
So it has no impact to
But they're
that,
not putting-
if they
they
choose
can't
to be
put
sheep
solar
farmers.
panels on.
It has no impact to their ability to be a farmer on that land. by putting those structures there. They can still completely farm that land.
It goes against our comprehensive.
But this is they're coming with a permit to build a structure of solar panels.
Yep. But if I'm a sheep farmer and I turn that into sheep land, those solar panels don't impact my farming ability to farm sheep. It's the same use, whether I have panels there or not.
Is it being utilized as sheep grazing right now? No, it's got a history of being tilled. It's prime farmland.
But it
It's
doesn't
silt
matter.
loam soil.
That's your opinion. You don't have the right.
That's not my opinion.
Yeah, it is.
There's crop history on that.
You don't
land.
have the right to tell a farmer that he has to keep it as cropland.
Right? But he's getting a permit, wants to get a permit to build a structure.
Yep.
Structures.
It's still gonna be ag.
There's a difference there.
I know.
Differently if you put the whole thing in a freestyle barn? Cause there's still animals living in that, eating in there.
Or a
There's no difference.
Hog barn, double hog barn there. Want that?
I know your question was to them, but I guess my primary citation within the comp plan was the scale of the project. I don't believe the comp plan's intent was to encourage
It was not.
commercial
It
operations,
was not the intention to encourage commercial solar.
not strictly prime ag ground related.
And the reason for it, I believe, it was because to protect prime farmland for agriculture use. So,
And this, I guess that's the argument, right? This prime farmland will be used for agricultural use. I don't know if you can deny that, right? It will be. So then it wouldn't violate that clause.
that clause is in a separate section of the comprehensive.
I know, but that's the
I'm
one that's
looking at it
being
as a
stated.
whole.
Right, that's the clause being used to say we can't,
No,
We're gonna
the clause
enforce
being
comp
used
plan.
is that it's not addressed as for commercial solar here.
It's, yeah, the scale of the project.
The scale of the project, so this is, we acknowledge that it's being used for residential, small energy systems, not large.
I think the point
And
I was
right
also
now,
making there
we
says
don't
businesses.
we don't have an ordinance to address large commercial solars either. And I think we should. We did have one that got denied at the board level, so.
Well, is there a motion to deny it? Or no motion to approve it, one way or the other? Leaving it up to the board.
I'll make a motion to deny it.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion before we vote on it?
Larry,
I vote to deny it.
Now, the motion is for denial, so
Yes.
if you agree with the motion, why it's
Yes.
either aye or yes.
Yes.
John. Josh,
I'm gonna vote no. I believe that it's the landowner's right to use their land the way they see fit, and within the confines of the comp plan, I believe it would be allowed because it will continue to be an agricultural use.
Franklin,
Aye or yes, I agree with the motion.
Eric,
I agree. We need to amend the comprehensive land use plan and come up with a ordinance before we approve any permit for large commercial solar.
Chase,
Yes, again, you'd have to amend the comp plan and form an ordinance.
Rich,
No. I think you're gonna use it for ag land, and whether we address the commercial aspect of it or not, I think it's a good project.
I miss somebody? Oh. I
think you got everybody.
You guys are looking at me. Okay.
Motion is carried, but I have a question. A proposed change, like we proposed for commercial solars, which was alluded to before, got voted down. In ordinary for this to pass, a new proposal would have to come from the planning commission, a new zoning ordinance, and to the comprehensive land use plan.
We would start it at your level.
Had to come out of this board, correct?
Yeah, you guys would review it first again. I guess I would put something together similar to what I did last time. It would come to you guys for an initial review, and then you'd make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay. Well, sorry we kept
Commissioners
this
can
one.
reject the denial.
Correct.
Say it does meet the comp plan.
They have the final vote.
Yeah.
Anything else before we adjourn? Oh,
I just was wondering, so, does this go to the board still? Or do we have to ask for it to go to the board still?
Nope, it does. It'll go on February 3rd.
anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, folks.